Alrighty. Well, it's interesting to note that we stumbled, or I did, stumbled on this technique. And as I started to really realize what I had, I told my good friend Steve Hunter, who writes books, amongst other things, many other things actually. And one of the things that came out was, geez, if this is really works so well, which there's indications that in fact it does work that well, we might be only able to change 10% of the people with PTSD, but even that would be a joy, would it not? To give them back their lives, or sometimes relearn who they are and get to know who they are. But at any rate, in my research, being an engineer, and he's an engineer as well, in my research, I ran into the top people who have PTSD. Well, of course, the military do. The law enforcement community does, fire department does, first responders do. That was interesting. And then it went into photojournalism. I had no clue about that one. And then it also went into war correspondents. Well, as I continued to read, women have it, housewives have it, children have it. And it turns out that it's a very interesting thing that the more I read and the more I looked at it across the board, you can have this stuff in case of women, for example, rape or molestation, children molestation or beatings, and they have to move forward with PTSD. They wouldn't know that they had that. I didn't even think about that. And the more I read, the more I realized that our offerings are across the board. Anybody with PTSD should be able to work this and give it a try. And I mean, what do you have to lose but PTSD itself, basically, and live a happy, wonderful life with this. Also, in my studies, in my reading, I'm, of course, martial artist and, been in the war, veteran, stuff like that. We all have a fight or flight syndrome. It's a survival mechanism. We scan, we look, we this, we that. I think it's actually down in our DNA. When you realize that our ancestors used to have to stay out of the way of saber-toothed tigers, and when they had to fight them, they had to be pumped up to a level of between 0 and 10, 10 being the most powerful you can be, they had to be to 14. But they obviously remember their sound, their smell, all that stuff, and that survival mechanism that's in our DNA to survive sometimes goes into overdrive. And that's what I think PTSD really is. It's an overdriven fight or flight routine. And all you have to do is kind of tune it back some. Don't let it get out of hand, so to speak. Well, easier said than done, clearly. However, if once you get the book, and we have a book, we have an audio book, so we've also got a video version of it, so you can just sit and watch it on TV if you want to. And it's written in a way, and Stephen introduced me to this, is the first chapter is where all the gold's at. Everything else kind of supports the first chapter. In the second chapter, we also have a workbook, so we're going to be able to help you design your pattern interrupts. And we'll also be offering a one-on-one consultation on the workbook and how to help you do that. Neither one of us are psychologists, so we're not doctors with degrees trying to give you medical advice, but rather, in our case, or in my case, I'll probably do some lectures, and I'll probably end up doing helping one-on-one or in workshops for the workbook section of the book. And and I'm like to talk a bit, as you can see, and I'll probably have some more videos up here, there, and everywhere. But we are ready to rock and roll. You can find our books over on Amazon, and we'll have them all linked up here on the site. So it's to your flavor. And again, what do you have to lose but PTSD itself? I'll see you on the website.